Eclipse is the editor for Java language. Fine, you need to install Eclipse in order to work with Java, right? For example, Turbo C was the editor for C Sharp. Okay, if you have, sorry, C, not C Sharp, C language. If you have learned C language, then there used to be a Turbo C editor. Similarly, Eclipse is for Java. Eclipse is some tool which helps you to write Java code, and it makes Java a little easy as well. Fine. So you need to go to Google and type Eclipse download, and you can go to the Eclipse downloads out here. Right, and over here you will see that Eclipse IDE for Java EE developers. Prefer downloading this one, right? Depending on your operating system, Windows 32-bit or 64-bit. Right. Once you have downloaded, you will see Eclipse like this folder. Okay. You open the folder, you will find eclipse.exe file inside it. Eclipse is not something which is installed; it is configured. When you start the exe, Eclipse will automatically start. Okay, so you really don't have to worry. Eclipse will start up automatically. And hold on, let it start on my system. Right, look, I'm starting with the very basics in the training. Like people over here, some people might be having idea about what I'm teaching right now. Okay, but some people might not be having. So I'll be starting from the basics of Java, then I'll move forward with Selenium parallelly. Okay. March 2014. So this was the path. What? Oh, I'm sorry, I missed it. I entered some values in the input box over there, right? So that was the path. It's known as the workspace path. Okay, that's the path where you'll store all the project code and all everything, right? So once Eclipse starts, it looks like this. Okay, you can close the welcome screen, and you'll see various panels in Eclipse. Fine. So the panel out here is known as Project Explorer. This one, you will have the projects stored out here. In the central portion out here, you will do the coding, and at the bottom out here, you get the reports, results, and all everything. So basically, the bottom panel is the output panel. Okay, over here we do the coding, and over here we store the projects. Right. So how do you start with Eclipse? The first thing is you have to make a project in Eclipse and start off with it. But before that, let me give you a brief background of Selenium, how Selenium evolved over a period of time. Okay. Now, when I initially worked on Selenium, there used to be 3 components on Selenium. One was known as Selenium RC, right? The other component was known as Selenium IDE, and another component was known as Selenium GRID. Okay, now talking about IDE. IDE is a tool which first of all only works on Mozilla browser. Okay, Selenium IDE will only work on Mozilla browser, and it's primarily a record run tool. Okay, the major disadvantage of IDE is that it only runs on Mozilla. Okay, just a minute, guys. Yeah, so Selenium IDE. Okay, Selenium IDE only works on Mozilla. It's a record and run tool, and it cannot generate reports, proper reports, HTML reports, and all. And if you have big projects, you cannot work on Selenium IDE practically. Okay, I'm not sure how many of you have done recording and running, but recording and running for automation is not that successful, right? You have to implement some programming logics and all, and at times you have some needs. Okay, for example, a website like bbc.com, it displays news, right? It's a news-based website. It has got news across the globe. The complete website changes every 24 hours, so you cannot just simply record and run it to test it, Okay, so there has to be some programming logic involved. So for that we use Selenium. We used to use Selenium RC. Okay, so Selenium RC is a tool which was available for multiple browsers, like it supported Mozilla, IE, Chrome, Opera and all those browsers. Okay, and it is available in various programming languages like Java, C Sharp, Ruby, Perl, PHP. Fine. So various programming languages are also supported in Selenium RC. Okay. Now this tool can implement the programming logics. It can generate very good reports, right? It supports multiple browsers. Fine. So that's why people preferred using RC more than ID. I'm sorry. Right, and that's the major reason IDE was not that much preferred, and rather it is not preferred these days as well. Okay, now Selenium GRID is a component in which you can make a central machine, a kind of server, or technically known as a hub, and connect various other machines to it and run your test cases parallelly. Suppose you've got 4,000 test cases, so you can connect four nodes to a hub, right, and execute 1,000 test cases on each of the nodes. Or suppose on one node you can execute all the test cases on Mozilla, on other node you can execute on IE, on third node you can execute on Chrome. Whatever you want to do, you can do with Selenium. Okay, now Selenium RC had various drawbacks. Right, the primary drawback was that it required a server. Okay, it required a server which had to be started again and again. Right. Second drawback, the major drawback was there were less number of commands, features basically. Features in the sense, for example, if you have to extract the elements in bulk from a page or something like that. So those things were not so easy with RC. Okay, so as Selenium became famous, RC had to be improved, and rather people from ThoughtWorks and Google, they came together and made up an entirely new tool known as Selenium WebDriver. Now WebDriver is known as Selenium 2.0 as well, and RC is known as Selenium 1.0 as well. But don't think that there was an upgrade from RC to WebDriver. There was no upgrade. Selenium 2.0 is completely different than RC. All the commands, everything is different. WebDriver also supports multiple browsers, multiple programming languages and all. Right, it also generates good reports, but it has been increased. A lot of features have been added into it. As we proceed with the course, we'll come to know about the features and all. Right, IDE remains the same, and GRID has been modified to GRID 2. Okay, GRID 2 supports WebDriver as well. Right, so this is the brief history of Selenium. Now you don't need to learn everything out here. No need to learn RC because it's absolutely gone now. Hardly anybody uses it. Learn WebDriver. It's not mandatory to learn RC in order to learn WebDriver. Okay, and to learn WebDriver, the first thing you need to learn is Java language. Don't be afraid from Java. Yes, Suresh, they can be upgraded. Yes, Selenium RC scripts can be upgraded to WebDriver, but that's not a very good idea. Okay, so Java language is the primary language which you need to learn. May I see many people getting afraid from it? Look, you don't have to get afraid. It is not something which comes in one day. It takes time. Okay, so now the thing is, when Selenium 2.0 there's a question being asked, when did Selenium 2.0 come into the market? It came in 2011, somewhere near July or August, as far as I remember. It was the month of July or August. Now currently they are working on Selenium 3.0 as well. in which I have heard that they'll be introducing mobile-based testing as well. Okay, mobile apps. There is a very good tool which has come up, and I was looking at it. It's known as, I think this tool will be very famous in future. Seleniumdroid. It's Selenium for Android-based devices. It looks good to me. As far as I've worked on it, and I think it will be very famous in coming days for Android-based testing. Okay, right. Anyways, let's go back to the topic, right? So this is Eclipse. Now the first thing which you need to do is that you need to have Java installed for Eclipse to start. Please make sure that you have Java installed. If you have 64-bit operating system, please make sure that you have JDK installed. Right. After that, I'll have to create a new project. Okay, you create a new project and call that project as day 1. Right. You call this project as day 1. Click on next and finish. Hold on. Look guys, for this course I am basically assuming one thing, that you have at least the basic knowledge of programming language. Okay, that is, yeah Manoj?
I just want to know why you're installing all this Java and Eclipse. Does it require any specific OS over there?
I cannot hear you, your voice is echoing.
Can you repeat?
Yeah.
Does it require any specific OS?
No, it doesn't require any specific OS. It also works on Windows 8.
Okay, because I have installed Vista, so there is no any problem.
No, there is no problem. Java is a platform independent language. It works on all the operating systems. Linux, Solaris operating system, Windows based operating system, any operating, Java will work anywhere. Okay, it's a platform independent language. So as I was telling you, for this course I'm assuming a little bit from you, that is, at least you know what are the basics of programming language, what an if statement is, what integers are, what a for loop is, what a while loop is. I'm assuming that you are knowing that much. Okay, if you are not knowing that much as well, I would request you not to join the training directly. Okay, you can purchase the access to the videos, watch the videos, and later on join the training by paying the difference amount. Okay, whatever is the difference between the online training and the videos, because I've seen people with zero background knowledge of programming joining the training, and it becomes a little tough for you. When you watch the videos and come to the training, it helps a lot. Okay, right? So this was Eclipse, and it's a little hanged right now. I'm not sure why. Yeah, it's okay now. Yeah, so this is day 1 project on the left hand side which I've created. If you expand this project, you will see source folder and GRE system library. Okay, this source folder is the one in which I'll store all the Java code, and GRE system library is actually Java which was installed on your system. Okay, you can right click on this project and you will get a lot of other options as well coming up. Hold on, it's taking a little time. Yeah, if you right click on this project, you'll get a lot of options. We'll be using these options, right? Just be with me. One of the options is properties. Okay, if you go to the project properties, then these are all the properties. If you look at the resource tab out here, you'll see the location of the project. This is the location of the project. If you go to this location, you'll find the day 1 project. You open it, you'll find all these files and folders, out of which only you can see the source folder is visible in Eclipse. All other folders are not available. Okay, I'll tell you what the other folders and all they mean. You'll get to know in some time, right? So source folder is the one which is the major one, right? And all the Java code is made inside it. You right click on the source folder, you create a new class, and you can, for example, I'll just call the class as sample, right? What do? You right click new class. Okay, class means Java file basically. You create a Java file and you name it as sample. Okay, check this checkbox public static void main. I'll tell you what this means as we proceed. You'll come to know. Okay, so you will have some file sample.java created and some code automatically coming up. I'll just increase my font size so that you are able to see it very clearly. Yeah, I hope you are able to see the font clearly. Right, now you will see this code generated public class sample. Right, name of the class is same as the name of the Java file which you have created. Okay, and there is some function known as public static void main. I'm again telling you, I'm assuming you have a little background of Java, of programming. Basically, you know what functions are, you know what loops, statements, integers, strings are, right? So public static void main, this is the main function in which the control comes up for the first time when you run the program. Like in C language as well, there is a main function, right, in which the control comes up. So in Java as well, this is the main function. What is public? What do you mean by static? What do you mean by void and all? As we proceed with the course, you will come to know. Just accept these things as they are. As I end up taking 3 to 4 classes, you will come to know what they mean. Okay, public, static, void and all. And so this function and method is same. It's same. Right. Now, so if you want to print something in Java language, you can write system.out.println. This is the command to print something in Java language. Suppose if I want to print something like Selenium Training, you can print like this. The command is system.out.println. Shortcut is you type SYSO and hit Control spacebar of your keyboard. Control plus spacebar, it will automatically get the command. Okay, when you run this program, how do you run this program? There are two ways. One is by clicking on the run icon on the top, which is this one. Okay, you click on this and this will be executed and you will be seeing Selenium Training. You'll be seeing this coming. You'll see this coming, Selenium Training out here. Or you right click on sample.java, select run as Java application. Okay, you'll have this running. Fine. Giving you a brief overview, there is something known as string in Java which can hold sentences and all. Right, there is an integer which can hold numbers. Many of you must be knowing this. I'm assuming you know basic things like these. Right, there are loops and all. Everything is there in this language. Okay. Now, whenever you run the program in Java, whenever you run the program in Java language, right, what you get is an output over here at the bottom in Eclipse, right? Apart from there, if you go to the location where the project is lying, this is the location. You have to right click on the project, go to the properties, under the resource tab you will see the location where the project is lying. If you go to the location in the project, you will see the source folder in which you will have sample.java file. So this is the sample.java file which I had just created, right? And if you look at the bin folder, in the bin folder you will have a class known as sample.class file. Every Java file gets converted to a class file. When you execute the program, when it compiles, every Java file gets converted to a class file. If you open this class file, you will not be able to read anything. If I try to open in a new notepad, I'll not be able to read anything inside it. Okay, so this is when you have to give time the file, you have to give him the class file. This class file is like an exe file. The client can execute the class file at his end. He will not get to know the source code. Okay, so hold on. Yeah, so now the thing is, I'm sorry I got deviated from the topic. Yeah, the class file is like an exe file. Okay, it's got the code which you will not be able to understand. Okay, so for example, if I create one more file over here, new class, right, and I name the class as say city.java, and inside it I print say London. Fine, and I run this, so this will print London over here. Okay, and if you look at the bin folder, you will have city.class file generated automatically inside it. Okay, so what I mean to say is that if there is a project, fine, and in that project you have got Java files, so all these Java files will be converted to class files, and these class files are something which we deliver to the client. When you say the deployment, you must have heard the developers telling that wait, the deployment is happening and this is happening, that is happening. What do you mean by deployment? Deployment is nothing but these class files, they are installed on the server. Okay, they are deployed on the server. That's what a deployment is. Now the thing is, if you talk practically, then in big projects there are number of files. Suppose there is a project in which you have got these class files and you have around say 1000 class files. Okay, and you have to deploy these 1000 class files, or you have to deliver them to the client. So how do you do that? How will you deliver 1000 files to the client? Okay, for that we put all these class files in a single file known as a jar file and deliver it to the client. Jar file is nothing but combination of many class files. Okay, many class files, when they are zipped, you can say together, you zip all the class files together, it makes a jar file, and the jar file is delivered to the client. Okay, giving you a very perfect example, when you installed Java on your machine, okay, and it opened up Eclipse, you saw this JRE system library. Okay, if you expand this JRE system library, you will find various jar files inside it. Okay, these jar files are nothing but they hold some information related to Java. Okay, for example, there is a jar file known as rt.jar over here. If you expand this jar file, you will see that in this jar file there are number of class files. These class files are made by people who actually made Java language. So they put all these class files together and gave it to you in form of a jar known as rt.jar. When you install Java on your machine, these things they came up on your PC. Okay, you can use any of these existing classes and work with them. For example, don't get confused, I'll just give you a simple example. If I write over here date d equals to new date, don't please ignore this line if you're not able to understand. I'm giving you a very generic example. Okay, if I write date d equals to new date, if I write system.out.println d, it will print the current date and time. Okay, right, now what is date and What I have done on this line, ignore that. We'll do that later on. But what is date? The question is, what is date? Date is an inbuilt class file which is present in one of the jar files of Java language. Okay, I have used that class file and I have got the system date. Okay, so this way I have this date is nothing but a pre-configured utility, you can say. It is already present in Java language. You can use it. Okay, right. So similarly, when you have to use Selenium, right, you need to download the jar files of Selenium and include the jar files in your project. Okay, right. For example, I'll tell you how. You go to seleniumhq.org. This is the official Selenium website. Go to the download section, and over here you will see the various client versions. Right, you download this one 2.40, the latest one. Click on the download icon over here. I think I have right now I have 2.35. Anyways, it hardly makes a difference to learn, right? So not exactly, Devendra, don't think about how I am referencing the file, right? Don't get confused on how I am referring this class file, whether it is a function call or whatever it is. Don't get confused. We'll talk about that later on. But what I mean to say is that we can use the existing classes which are already there inside the jars of Java language. This is what I want to tell you. Okay, we can use the classes which are already there in the Java language. Right. Similarly, if you want to work with Selenium, you need to download the jars for Selenium and include the jars in your project. Because when you install Java, Selenium never came up. Right now, Selenium is not there in the project. Okay, so you need to go to this seleniumhq.org, go to the download section and download the jars for Selenium from here. Okay, when you download, you will get the folder like this. You will have two jars, these two jars. Ignore the sources jar, basically this jar, and in the library you will have all these other jars as well in the lib folder. After you click on the download link, you will get this. Hello?
Ashish?
Yes, Mohan.
Ashish, so once we give the jar files to clients, then how client can execute these test cases using jar file? Because currently we are executing these test cases using that class .java file. Right? So once we
you can execute using and you can execute using command prompt. We'll do that. We'll do that in the training. Okay. You can execute anyways. Yeah. So there are various ways to execute class file. Okay. So that's not a big deal. That's just a standard procedure. Okay. So yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Now when you download Selenium jars, you get these two jars, and along with that you get jars in the library folder. Don't forget the jars in the library folder. There are a lot of them. Okay. Now you go to your project. Okay. Right click on your project and go to the properties of the project. Fine. In the Java build path option, which is third from the top, you will have 4 tabs. In the third tab, you'll have the libraries tab, and you'll see that GRE system library, that is Java library, is already there in your project. That's why you're able to see it over here. And these are the jars of Java library which you are able to see on the panel on the right side. Okay, right? Now you can say that you want to add some external jars. This button, add external jars. Fine. Click on this. Browse to the location where you have stored the jar files. This is the one. Include both of them, it doesn't matter. Include both of them and also include all of them inside the library folder. Don't forget the lib folder. So you include all the jars out here and you will see a reference library section coming up on the left side. Under that you will have all the jars for Selenium. Okay. Now Selenium is configured in your project. You can use the classes which are present in the jar files and work. So in Selenium it's not actually a rocket science. Okay. You use the pre-configured classes present in these jars. For example, I used the date class. Okay. Oh my God, what happened? Just a minute. Yeah, as I was saying that you created the date class and used the feature of this inbuilt date class, which was primarily there in Java language. Similarly, there are many classes under these jar files. You have to learn how to use them to work with Selenium. To learn how to use them to work with Selenium, you can refer this Java doc over here. This was the download link from which you will download the jars. Okay. Along with that, there is a Java doc link. Java doc means Java documentation. Okay. You click on this and you will get the documentation of all the classes which are present inside these jars. These are all the classes. Nobody remembers all the classes. Even I don't know the features of all the classes, but I get to know when I'm stuck somewhere and I can refer any class, read what it does. Now the problem is to read what this class does is not a child's play. It's little tricky. Basically, to understand this Java documentation, you have to have the concept of object-oriented programming. Oops, very clear, right? Like inheritance or the concept of static, the concept of non-static, and the concept of objects, basically, right? So you have to have that concept, object-oriented programming concept, very clear. If you have this concept clear, only then you can understand the documentation of Selenium. Many times I've seen people coming to me and telling me, fine, Selenium has got no good documentation on the net or something. It's got a good documentation, but you know, it's little technical, right? So I'll first start with the concepts of object-oriented programming in this training, and then I will go to Selenium. I have configured Selenium in my project, and after covering OOPS, I'll tell you how do I use Selenium and how do I use OOPS with Selenium, basically. Okay, right? So I'll stop here for today. I'll not go ahead because I need time to go ahead as well, right? I'll